In tonight's news edition, 2 Palestinians, including a 12-year-old boy, are wounded in an Israeli airstrike in the Gaza Strip in retaliation for rocket attacks on Israel. Relief aid continues to reach the Yarmouk camp in a besieged suburb of Damascus after the first shipment in months was delivered to the camp's Palestinian refugees yesterday. And the U.S. president sets out to mend ties frayed last year by media reports citing leaked intelligence documents that Washington was spying on European Union citizens. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. Speaker of the lower house of Parliament Atif Tarawne delivered a written letter from His Majesty the King to the Emir of Kuwait Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmad Al Jaber Al Sabah. The letter stressed His Majesty's pride and appreciation of the strong ties between Jordan and Kuwait and other peoples. The King also thanked Kuwait for its support to the kingdom as it works to address current economic challenges. The letter also highlighted His Majesty's appreciation of the Emir's efforts to enhance solidarity and cooperation among Arab and Islamic nations. For his part, the Emir of Kuwait hailed the King's wise policies as well as Jordan's support to Arab Gulf issues. Tarawne is heading Jordan's delegation to the 20th Conference of the Arab Interparliamentary Union, AIPU, which opened in Kuwait today. 2 Palestinians, including a 12-year-old boy, were wounded in an Israeli airstrike in the Gaza Strip. Israel said it carried out the attack against a Gaza activist who it blamed for cross-border rocket attacks last week. Earlier today, a rocket fired from the Gaza Strip struck southern Israel, causing no casualties. But Israel responded with an airstrike on 2 sites in the territory, and Hamas said 2 of its training camps were hit in the attack, but no one was hurt. The attack against the man identified by the Israeli army as Ahmed Saad, a senior Islamic Jihad operative, is a sign of what Israel says is a growing impatience over a recent upsurge in rocket fire out of the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army said Saad, who was attacked while riding a motorbike, was personally responsible for the launching of 5 rockets at the Israeli southern city of Ashkelon last Thursday. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad says the Syrian society will never accept extremist mentalities, saying that such mentalities threaten not only Syria but the entire region. He named the Wahhabi and the Takfiri as some of such radical mentalities. The Syrian news agency Sana quoted Assad in a meeting with a delegation of Anglican Church clergymen in Damascus yesterday. The Anglican Church delegation included clergymen from the United States, Sweden, Switzerland, Lebanon, and Syria. Assad told the delegation that one of the main problems of the Western approach, mainly the U.S., is that most of their leaders are far from comprehending the reality and nature of the region and the interest of its peoples. As the Geneva Peace Conference on Syria approaches, the Islamic Front, an alliance of Islamist fighting forces in the country known as the Rebels, rejected the talks. A leading member of the front stated on his Twitter account that the future of Syria will be made on the ground in the country and not in hollow conferences attended by those who don't even represent themselves. The front's rejection of the peace talks is believed to make any possible agreement harder to implement on the ground. The main political opposition group, the National Coalition, yesterday agreed to attend the talks beginning on Wednesday. 3 other rebel groups also welcomed the talks and said they would attend. On the ground, it was another day of violence in Syria. Unverified video obtained from a social media website showed what was said to be the aftermath of attacks on the rebel-held city of Aleppo by Syrian government forces. The footage showed burning vehicles and panicked people running through the streets between buildings while trying to find survivors in the rubble. Meanwhile, relief aid continued to reach the Yarmouk camp in a suburb of Damascus under siege for the past 7 months. The first shipment in months reached the camp yesterday and another was on its way today. But UN officials could not verify how the food parcels made it through. There are 18,000 Palestinian refugees in the camp, where 15 have already died so far of malnutrition.
Desperately needed food aid is finally reaching a besieged suburb of Damascus. Without food or medicine, thousands of civilians have been trapped for months. Amateur video that Reuters cannot independently verify shows women lining up to receive food parcels in what looks like a scene out of World War II.
There are charities for the camp people, but we have received nothing. Our children are dying of hunger. Are we animals? They have full stomachs and we are dying of hunger.
On Saturday, a UN spokesman confirmed that 200 food packages had been donated after local authorities requested its support. A local activist who wished to remain anonymous said local Palestinian groups carried out the food distribution. Residents say they've survived this long by scavenging for food or by conducting life-threatening smuggling trips ever since a siege was imposed by Bashar al-Assad forces. It is unclear if all 200 parcels made it.
Over to Iraq, and in the outskirts of Ramadi, the capital of Anbar province, Iraqi tribesmen backed by police, special forces and helicopter gunship assaulted Al-Qaeda-linked militants. Police and local officials said the ground forces retook a police station in the Hamthiyah on the eastern outskirts of the city after helicopters fired missiles and machine guns at militants' hideouts in the area. The fighting around Ramadi was some of the heaviest in several days. Earlier this month, Al-Qaeda fighters and local allies overran parts of Ramadi as well as the city of Fallujah. Security forces backed by Sunni tribesmen regained control of most of Ramadi, but the militants retained some foothold on the edge of the city. Elsewhere in Iraq, explosions and suicide attacks continued unabated. 14 people died late yesterday from explosive attacks near Baghdad, and more than 50 were wounded. A series of explosions shook the city in the evening as unidentified assailants set off at least 4 car bombs and fired several mortar rounds, destroying several buildings. This report has the details.
Bombs and bloodshed rock Baghdad as the death toll mounts. Over the weekend, at least 14 people are killed and 55 wounded in the capital. In one incident, armed men attacked a juvenile prison, killing a guard, wounding 4, and releasing 20 inmates, police said. One eyewitness describes what he saw.
There was an explosion near the juvenile prison, followed by gunfire and more explosions. No one knew what happened. There was flesh scattered on the ground. Some people said it was a suicide bomber attack, while others said it was a car bomb attack. But we have seen them. They were suicide bombers. We saw their bodies.
Elsewhere in Baghdad, rubble, destroyed buildings, and car bodies litter the site of another deadly blast. 2 years after U.S. troops left Iraq, violence has climbed back to its highest levels since the Sunni Shiite bloodletting of 2006 and 2007, when tens of thousands of people were killed. The United Nations says nearly 9,000 people died violently in Iraq last year. Most were civilians.
In Pakistan, a bomb planted by Taliban insurgents ripped through a vehicle carrying Pakistani troops, killing 20 soldiers. At least 30 others were wounded as the convoy prepared to leave the volatile northwestern town of Banu for nearby North Waziristan, a tribal region on the Afghan border where Al-Qaeda-linked militant groups are holed up. The army said the bomb was planted in a civilian vehicle meant to transport troops to North Waziristan. The device exploded as soldiers got inside the car and prepared to leave. The attack was the biggest on Pakistani security forces in months. It is seen as a major blow to the army as it works to contain the insurgency on its western frontier. U.S. President Barack Obama, in a rare interview to German TV, set out to mend ties frayed last year by media reports citing leaked intelligence documents that Washington was spying on European Union citizens and had tapped Chancellor Angela Merkel's mobile phone. Obama stopped short of apologizing over the allegations, saying he would not let intelligence work damage relations, and differences of opinion between the two countries was no reason to wiretap. On Friday, Obama banned U.S. eavesdropping on the leaders of close allies among a series of reforms triggered by the revelation of former U.S. security contractor Edward Snowden.
It doesn't surprise me because I think that, first of all, a lot of suspicion had been built up in Germany and, frankly, around the world in the wake of the Snowden disclosures. And it's going to take some time to win back trust. And if you look at what we've done, though, it really is unprecedented. What I've put forward is a presidential directive that very clearly indicates what we will do and will not do when it comes to overseas surveillance. And I indicated very specifically that we do not listen to people's phone calls or read their emails if there are no...
Blasts inside the camp of anti-government protesters in Bangkok, Thailand left at least 7 people seriously hurt in the latest upsurge of violence in a prolonged political crisis dividing the country and threatening the Thai economy. The leader of the ongoing anti-government protests in Bangkok urged those attending a rally in the Thai capital to enlist their family and friends to join their campaign to topple the government. We get more in this report.
More violence at anti-government protests in Bangkok Sunday as 2 explosions leave dozens injured, some seriously. Blood-stained clothes were found at a campsite near Victory Monument where 2 explosions went off. An eyewitness said he heard one blast from behind a stage and minutes later another blast elsewhere. Some of the 28 or so wounded were being treated for serious injuries. Sunday's blasts follow an explosion on Friday in which one person died from his wounds. A memorial service was held for that victim on Sunday. Months of demonstrations by supporters of the opposition who want Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra to resign had been relatively peaceful. Earlier Sunday, protesters marched to the offices of the Prime Minister and asked police to leave the compound, which they did while accepting roses from protesters. Despite the some 18 coups staged or attempted by the army in the past 81 years, they have said that they'll remain neutral this time.
Although the White House tried to keep a pretty tight public lid on the First Lady's 50th birthday party last night, some details leaked out. Celebrities attended the star-studded birthday celebration, including actor Samuel L. Jackson, singer Smokey Robinson, and basketball legend Magic Johnson. Beyoncé also attended with her husband Jay-Z, where she sang some of Michelle Obama's favorite songs. The party was reported to have lasted until at least 2 a.m.
Gosh, there were many highlights. The highlight was, first of all, that we were here for the First Lady's birthday, and that was the highlight, and the President gave a wonderful, wonderful speech about her, and then Beyonce performed, and wow. And Lettucey performed, and...
Did you?
No, they're still in their gym, and, you know, the DJ's playing now, and everybody's dancing.
The Berlin Fashion Week drew to a close with one of the world's most famous models, Jerry Hall, paying a visit on the last day. The Berlin Fashion Week gives an indication of what styles we can expect to see in shops next fall. During the past week, more than 130 labels showed off their upcoming autumn-winter collections. And from what has been presented, one can expect radically purist, delicate, refined, and chic designs. Yesterday, the Shop the Runway show premiered on the sidelines of the show, where members of the public were presented with highlights of the upcoming collection of various labels available online and in shops.
So much fun. What's exciting about this is that you can look at the fashion and buy it instantly, which is, you know, instant gratification is really good, because usually you have to wait for ages. You see a fashion show and then you have to wait 6 months to get the clothes. So this is great fun.
We We begin with tennis and the fourth round of the Australian Open. 14th ranked Serb Ana Ivanovic played the match of her life to come from a set down and secure the biggest shock of the tournament so far by defeating world number 1 Serena Williams. Williams has never even lost a set to Ivanovic in 4 previous meetings, and today the Serb beat her 4-6, 6-3, 6-3. With her victory, Ivanovic will now meet Canada's Eugene Bouchard in her quarterfinal. Earlier, 4th seed China's Li Na moved to the quarterfinals after ousting Katerina Makarova of Russia in 2 straight sets. In just under an hour, Li Na won 6-2, 6-love to set a meeting with Flava Pennetta. In the men's singles, Novak Djokovic performed yet another flawless match, reaching the quarterfinals for the 7th time in a row. The 4-time champion crushed Italy's Fabio Fognini 6-3, 6-love, 6-2 to book his place in the last 8 without losing a set. In the Alpine World Cup in Switzerland, Alex Pantigot boosted French morale ahead of the Olympics as he handed his country their first victory this season. The Frenchman beat favorites Felix Neugautier of Germany and Marcel Hirscher of Austria, who finished 2nd and 3rd respectively. And finally, stable weather conditions continue tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow, another slight rise in temperature is expected, but it remains relatively cold in hilly areas and fair in other parts of the kingdom, with southwesterly light to moderate winds. In the Gulf of Aqaba, it will be fair tomorrow with northerly moderate winds and calm seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here's a reminder of our top stories. 2 Palestinians, including a 12-year-old boy, are wounded in an Israeli airstrike in the Gaza Strip. Relief aid continues to reach the Yarmouk camp in the suburb of Damascus, under siege for the past 7 months. And the U.S. president sets out to mend ties frayed last year by media reports citing leaked intelligence documents that Washington was spying on European Union citizens. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Nancy Khair. Thank you for watching and have a good night.